Now, Janssens never really had a plan to meet the British head on. He had lost to them in South Africa, but the troops there were way less prepared than they were in Java. He had about 8,000 French, Dutch, and indigenous fighters with him. So he felt like he could hold true. Now, the prison I showed you, that's about, that's a couple miles south of Batavia. And his predecessor had built up defenses in Batavia at the time. There was hospitals, there were barracks, there was even a military school, which hung on through the war and was ultimately torn down. But he hears that the British have invaded, and he just picks up and he goes to Fort Cornelius, right? And with him, he burns some of the town down, and he brings with him some coffee and sugar. He takes away the things that the British are looking for. He didn't want to give them any spoils of war that quickly. So the British come into Batavia, and there's nobody there. So Batavia falls without a shot being fired. And they're pretty bummed that there's nothing to take, and that, a portion of the city has been burned to the ground. And then they plan to go meet Janssens and get this thing going. Now, Janssens believes that between the heat and disease, the British are going to wither away. But he can't hold out that long. He's going to have to meet the British at some point. So the other side of this is there are critical officers that get dead, right? I don't know if I can say that on Instagram, but anyway, one of them was a French general, Alberti, and he mistook some British riflemen for Dutch because they were wearing green, and he got a bad case of lead poisoning. So a lot of things were working against Janssen, and there was an area nearby called Veldhoven, and that was the first real big skirmish between the British, Dutch, and French. And they held out as best as they could. The British lost somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 men, but the Dutch and French lost about 300. And it fell to the British, and they all moved over to Fort Cornelius. And the British decided that was a great place, Veldhoven, to set up fortifications.